Here we are.
Hi, friends.
Hello. I'm still here.
Julie's not going to leave.
I'm still here. I'm sleeping in the basement with the cat. It's a beautiful room. I
Just moving.
All right. All right.
Well, we've been having some fun.
We have been. Oh my God.
Julie's been here a week, and we've had the awesome opportunity to get to work together on some stuff.
I know.
That makes such a big difference when you're in person.
So much
versus
more dynamic and more effective.
Yes.
So we'll figure it out. We're doing it.
Yeah.
All right. So today we talk about.
So I guess I'll just pose a question.
All right.
Depending on what kind of viewer you are, have you noticed there's a growing interest in spirituality? Have you noticed there's a growing cult, maybe you might say, around crystals, essential oils,
tarot cards, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the garb.
Yeah. There's a certain way that you present.
Right. To let people know that you are a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm. So today we're just going to kind of crack open. This is going to be a little two-part exploration of like what's with some of the posturing that's going on and where's that coming from? Is this just another trend? Basically spirituality as a trend. How do we pursue an authentic approach in the face of this growing trend, which there are pros and cons to it now being popular. Right. And then, because I think that there is such a focus on me. And Western psychology has done this because we've learned how to go inward and really evaluate, be the observer, analyze ourselves, which is such a gift, can also be a curse. And it just keeps our attention here.
Well, I see it kind of as an overcorrection. If you think about, or I'll think about my parents who have passed on, they never made it about them. I mean, it wasn't, a lot of reflecting on what they were doing that was healthy modeling or what wasn't. It was just go. A lot of just going. After you go to church on Sunday, check the box. That was your work. That was your spiritual work. And so now I feel like that pendulum has like swung the other direction where it's like, I hold meditation practice 3 hours a day after I do my gratitude list and drink my, mushroom blend in the morning while feeding the animals and channeling my guides. It's a pretty big swing, right?
You just described my morning, so.
Right.
Julie's been helping me feed the cat gang, by the way. They love her.
Yeah, it feels like, that pendulum, like a little bit of an overcorrection.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do all these things to understand myself and reflect back and da-da-da. And it's like, okay, how do we bring this back into a balanced place where this is just a way of living instead of like a presentation of a way of living?
Yeah. Well, and Julie and I have talked about this a lot, but there's that, I don't know, the balance, both things are true, that on the one hand, you have to have that phase where you come to know yourself on a deeper level. You deal with childhood trauma, like doing inner child work seems so cliche now, but it's, and I even think about mine and your journey, where it's like, we started off with like talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, very typical when you're dealing with addictions. It's like looking at the different parts of yourself that are kind of taking over in each situation. And that's deeply valuable. That was step number 1 or 2, or, whatever.
Self-awareness and integrating fragmented parts.
Yeah.
We all, and for people who might not understand this concept, like this isn't like a Sybil type thing. like, oh, what do you mean parts of you?
For
But
people who don't know Sybil, we mean that
yeah,
you don't have multiple personality disorder.
right. So there's this, it's called internal family systems, if you want to look into it. But it's the idea that we, as a child, say as a child, both my parents worked, and I would have to come home from school every day and start preparing for dinner. And I'm 7 years old, 9 years old, whatever. There's a part of me that's very sad. I want my parents to be there and nurture me, but I'm not aware of that. So I developed this hyper independence. I like to get things done. I'm the girl. I love to cook. This is how I do things. But I'm protecting this part of me that knows I'm really not going to get what I need. I want to come home from school and be hugged at the door and have someone ask me how my day was. But because that wasn't available, I developed this part of myself. It's like, I'm going to cook a really good dinner, and my parents are going to come in the door and go, "Oh, honey, we love you so much." But this is a part of me. Then another part might develop when I go to high school or eighth grade, and I find out like I'm kind of scared. I don't really know how to fit in. I'm going to be really funny. I'm the funny girl. I pull out my funny girl. And so then that's a part of me, right? And these parts, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's an awareness that this developed out of something, whether that I felt about myself or what I wasn't receiving that I needed in my environment.
Exactly.
So reclaiming those parts of the awareness. Oh my God.
Exactly.
Like,
Because when we don't know that they're there, they're the ones driving the car.
right.
And we love them and we value them. They don't always need to be the one driving the car.
Right. Like, yeah. So that's what we're talking about. That identification of I'm in class clown mode right now. Like,
Right.
I'm at now I'm an adult and I'm at this business dinner and I'm feeling uncomfortable and I don't really know how to fit in. And I pull out the clown. I don't really know I'm pulling out the clown, but it's not really appropriate at this business dinner. But it's just happening. Having that awareness of like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I don't need to pull this clown out to get me through this situation. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So very valuable. Very
right,
valuable.
Totally.
And a necessary step on anyone's journey. I guess what we're starting to see more of, and we see this in ourselves, so this is no judgment on this growing trend. We're not judging anyone else's spiritual journey. We are starting to see this uptick of like, oh, people are interested in the stuff that we,
right.
And I'm not saying I've been on this journey for forever, but like stuff that was pretty hidden and not as talked about for quite a while now has become mainstream.
Well, it was pathologized. I mean, this would only be something you discuss if you were in some sort of treatment center, like you were in some sort of life crisis.
Right.
And now it's maybe as a collective, we are in a crisis.
Yeah, we could argue that.
This is a crisis. And so it's just coming more mainstream. But it was pathologized.
Well, even I think coming out of survival mode, as we've continued to evolve, I think of my parents, they weren't living in survival mode, but
right.
It was still very much like we work, we put the kids through school, when you're in that mode, you don't have a lot of time and energy to devote to yourself and your own healing.
You speak to something that's really true, that these ages of enlightenment only occur when a society has some of the basic needs like food right. and shelter, and there is a comfort level and a bit of it's a bit of I can't think of the word, but when you have the time and comforts right to contemplate the meaning of life and why am I here, and that's kind of it's a blessing, but it's kind of turned into this a little bit of like egocentric, narcissistic, me. I want to I'm sorry I acted like that. It was just my wounded inner child coming out. It's like, no, you were just being an asshole.
Oh my God. So can we talk about some of the ways that people have started using the spiritual jargon or therapy speak to bypass doing the work?
Right.
So here's something I've encountered. So we do come from, and this is the tricky part, is that there's truth in all of this,
right.
but there's another piece missing that's not bringing in the balance. So I've experienced spiritual people who will say things like, I'll maybe share in vulnerability that something that they did hurt me. And that's hard enough for me to do.
Right.
So, that's a very
Right.
awkward conversation.
Right.
That only happens when you're feeling safe enough, usually, to do so.
Right.
And they'll say something like, I'm sorry that you chose to be hurt by that. What's the truth there? The truth is we're all choosing our own experience.
Right.
That
Right.
no one can
Exactly.
make us feel a certain way. And when someone said, how does that make you feel good to hear? I mean, that's just a basic human. Does that feel good to hear as a human?
Well, and
No.
it's lacking that element of empathy, because when you're expressing that to me, I know you're feeling hurt.
Right.
And so we can get to whose fault it was.
Right.
That's down the line. It's not a fault, but you're expressing to me you're feeling hurt.
Right.
So just basic human empathy is, gosh, I'm really sorry you feel hurt. I don't want you to feel hurt.
That was not, I didn't want you to feel
right.
that way.
Is there something I could do? Like,
Right.
help me understand.
That's relationship
Help
building.
me understand. I don't see it the same way. Help me understand. But to be like, I'm sorry you chose to feel, or, well, everything's just a mirror.
Right.
Like, that drives me crazy.
Right.
Like, hey, you know what my dad used to say? Sometimes a duck is just a duck. Like, you just did something that sucks. Okay. You did something that sucks. And it's not like, well, it's a lesson for you. Why is that bothering you so much? It's like, well, because you're being an asshole. That's why.
And it hurts. It's allowed to hurt.
Right.
When we go into that, I think we do a lot of the mental with that. It's like, well, let me talk myself, or let me talk you out of how you're feeling. And that's gaslighting, right? Which everyone's talking about gaslighting now.
I'm over that too. It's like, nah, you're just not owning your shit.
Exactly.
And you're twisting things so that,
well,
you're not taking ownership.
Defense mechanism in my mind. It's a way to stay isolated behind this wall of my self-healing journey, so that I don't really have to get dirty with you. I don't have to engage in the messiness. It's like, well, that's her shit.
Right.
That's a wall.
Well, and that whole idea, like, everything is the projection. It's like, okay, but can we just talk like we're real people here? Like, or everything is a lesson. Well, we know, okay, great. But please meet me with words and heart, and not these catchphrases. Like, it feels like that. And
yes,
I, for one, feel like there is a veneer, just like a veneer that the words and the language kind of throws off this protective veneer. And I also feel like the veneer is in the way people dress, and everybody's become a little bit of a hippie if you're spiritual. And I'm like, since when does spirituality have a uniform? Isn't that what the clergy was wearing? Like, that everybody kind of put on their uniform so that everybody knew they were, whatever, religious or now spiritual. And it's like, what's that about? Like, I don't get it. It feels like posturing sometimes, or like, I need everybody to know I'm spiritual.
Well, I think it's overcompensation. If, kind of one of my phrases that I always come back to is, if you have to say it, it's probably not true. It's a similar situation. It's like, if you have to dress the part, it's probably not true. And I've done plenty of this. I've done plenty, especially when you're in transition. When I was transitioning kind of from like one way of being into the next, I was doing the work, but I didn't feel fully in it yet. So then it's like, well, if I wear certain clothes, if I wear certain jewelry, then it's like, it's almost the fake it till you make it. But of course, there was still some element of like, I want other people to think that I'm part of this group.
Right.
But it was also for me to be like, see, Claire, I'm getting there. I'm doing this, even if it wasn't the most authentic expression of what I would normally wear.
Right. Well, it's funny because sometimes I've had those thoughts, like, even when we're talking about today, when people get to know me, they don't know me by what I look like. And that's always like this, like, oh,
An enigma.
but I've never changed my presentation. Like, well, maybe if I wear my hair differently, people will think I'm more approachable. Or, because we were just talking about that,
Right.
that sometimes I give off this vibe of maybe hard to get to know, but that's so the opposite of me. But maybe if I had like feathery earrings and like a flowy skirt and was like, people would be like, oh my God, she's so, I mean, I think I look a little buttoned up in the way that this is who I am. But I feel like that if I were dressing to be part of something, then how am I being authentically me and connecting to my inner truth or my inner light? Like, I don't know. And sometimes it cheapens. I feel like it cheapens it. I'm gonna speak for me as someone who, this has been a wild ass ride of my life. And it has been so incredibly hard. I mean, there have been so many beautiful blessings, but getting to this point where whatever, I get to receive messages and it's been gut wrenching. And it feels like an affront when somebody just like, hangs a dream catcher in their window and starts, wearing turquoise and collecting tarot cards. That they're like, well, we're doing some spiritual work. And it's like, wow, okay. Mine didn't look like that. I didn't get to just go shopping and hang some crafts and decide I'm spiritual now.
That's an interesting thing you bring up, like people's entrance into this stuff. It can be through trauma, and then you're like kind of forced on your own healing journey. Like, I was cracking up, my friend came to visit, and she was just like, she just kept looking around my magic room downstairs is where I do the yoga and blah blah blah. And she just kept saying, wellness, wellness, wellness. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't have a choice. It was like either get well or die.
Right.
And so along the way, I've come to acquire these tools that are associated with spiritual whatever. But I think people also it can be reversed.
I know.
Where it's like, ooh, I'm super into tarot. That sounds witchy and fun. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm really actually into doing this work now.
Right.
So it can go both ways.
It can go both ways. Yeah, and it does. The hobby elements of it, I just don't resonate with. Like, I'm just like, this isn't a hobby. This isn't a costume party.
Right.
This is a way of being. And it's not just all one-liners and projection lesson, all that stuff. Like, so I know we talk about things that sound whatever witchy in our magic room and tarot and channeling. And I guess what we're just trying to create some discussion around how these are tools are like, but they're not the main dish. Like, it's like you can have a dinner party and have all these beautiful, like, fun little appetizers and like a signature drink and blah blah blah. But what are we doing here?
Right.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, and I guess it brings into the question, like, just where we all posture.
Right.
Where are we posturing? Where, and looking at the intention behind, why am I purchasing this piece of clothing? Why am I really attached to going to this event? Or why am I posting a certain type of way on Instagram? Coming back to your authentic intention behind it, like, truly and can we be honest with ourselves? Can I say, well, I'm feeling a little insecure today, so I thought I would layer on hella necklaces like I see all the beautiful women on Instagram doing. I'm like, why are they wearing so many necklaces?
Is that what we're supposed to be doing?
There's just so many layers of necklaces, and or is it because all of these necklaces just make me feel really fucking good? you know?
Right. Right. Well, and it's looking outside of yourself to somehow establish some sort of internal
Right.
state. And
Which can help,
which is
right?
hysterical,
It can
right?
help if you're like, I need a little extra support to integrate these things into who I am, then your outward appearance can be a projection of that. Your home can be a projection of that. They've got to
Right.
be working concurrently, though. It can't be the only thing because then it
Right.
is just a facade.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess I'm just really tapping into that for myself because it's always kind of annoyed me. And I think it is that, wait, this isn't a hobby. And I'm not saying people who, have dream catchers are all just doing this for hobby. I don't mean that. But when something becomes hot and trendy, and the way I arrived at this, there was nothing fucking hot or cool or trendy about it.
Yeah.
Like none of it at all. And it's like, oh, so this is the thing now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's even the challenge for us, for people who have been on the path for a little while, and then you see everybody jumping on the bandwagon, and it's like, okay, can I
Right.
can I allow everyone to have their own journey without being like, who are these people? What are these people doing?
Right. And it's like, so everybody plays sound bowls now? Is that what we're all doing? We're all offering sound journeys now. Like literally. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. Because this is trending. And it's like, am I offering a sound journey? Because I don't know, first of all, I have found great healing with, sound bowls and vibration. And I want to share that joy and help people, change the vibration with it, whatever. Or am I offering sound journeys because it's really cool? There's lots of venues. I can go around town. I'm doing a sound journey. I'm doing a sound. Is it about getting something back where people think I'm something? Like, oh, she does, you know what I mean? Where I'm needing to be validated. And so I'm needing to tell people, well, I do this. I also do this. And that's, I think, what I find when people have very impressive like websites about what are they doing? I don't know. They're cleaning wombs and they're rebirthing someone, and then they're connecting you with your Stargate tribe through. And I'm like, part of me's like, I didn't even know people knew how to connect someone else to a Stargate tribe. What's wrong? Why do I not know that? And I should look. But then part of me's like, what the fuck is all this? What is all this? What are we doing right now?
I think the more it's opened up, and that's the cool thing too, is like now, okay, part of me sees that everyone's into crystals, and it's like, that's fucking exciting. Like people are
Right.
starting to understand the science behind crystals,
Right.
which is great. On the other hand, when we open it up that much, it allows more opportunity for distortion. Yeah.
And trying to sell and make money.
Yes.
This has turned into a big fucking industry. And as Claire and I are, beginning to create these we call them returns, because the guide said you're not retreating from your life, you're returning to the truth of who you are. So we call them returns. But as we're doing this, there's this saturated market out there of slick return centers, and they're going to market or retreat centers. And you sit there and go, oh, wow, this has become a very saturated market. But to enter into something, yes, getting energy equally back of what you put out, that's what we're looking for in life. But this is now a business. It is a business. And I think people that enter into it with the money making at the front end, there is a bit of a distortion or corruption in the delivery of information that can be 100% true information. But how am I really serving someone when I'm thinking about how much money I can make off of them?
Which brings me to, and I think you've maybe had a similar experience where doing the inner work and doing the healing journey, people can label that as selfish, self-absorbed, egocentric, and it absolutely can be. How do we balance? Okay, I've got to do all this inner work and clear out my wounds and heal all this stuff, and also be of service. Like, in your mind, is it you got to do one before you do the other, or is it happening at the same time? We've got the whole concept of the healed or the wounded healer, which is like when you see people, oh, I'm a coach, and you're like, all your shit still stinks.
Right. I've been to a few wounded healers.
Yeah.
And as I sort of gained more of my inner authority, access to my inner authority, I could see the wounded healer. And it's like, what am I doing here? You know, you can see that. I don't think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah. So do
Personally,
you think there's like a certain, do you have to be like a certain amount healed before you can help other people? You know, like that gets tricky.
I think there needs to be a lot of awareness around my own, I'll just call them shortcoming areas where I might not be as strong. So right now, I wouldn't want to coach someone around sick children. If their children were really sick, and you know, because I'm in a situation with sick children and that wound is still there, I'm not on the other side of that. I know whatever happens, I am fine. And I know whatever the journey is for my child, it's divine. But for me to coach someone about how to navigate the loss of a child, or
Because
no,
you're still so close
I'm still
to it.
in it.
You would easily, maybe even without recognizing it, project whatever coaching.
Totally. Absolutely. What I think I should be doing, what I think they should be doing, because I am still in it. Now, that's not to say someone could come to me and I think they believe they were getting solid information from me, and I wouldn't be trying to manipulate anyone or trick anyone.
Right.
I wouldn't be, but I am not clean energetically in that area.
Because you've got attachment. Maybe it comes back to the attachment, right?
Totally. And just think about our eating disorders, okay? If I had a sandwich for every person who was working in that field who clearly had an eating disorder still,
oh my God,
I'd need some bigger pants.
You know, they say that about therapists too. Like, therapists
It was ridiculous how many people in that field still struggle with an eating disorder. I don't want you to be leading me. I get that you understand what I'm going through because you're going through it right now too.
Yeah.
But you're just pretending that you're further along than me. But I can see that this is still running around in there. And so stuff with my sick child is still running around up there. Now, eating disorders, I'm happy to talk to that because I don't really give a shit what I eat. I mean, I don't care about how much I weigh, whatever, you know. But 15 years ago, I could have been a food coach. I could have been an eating disorder
You knew
coach.
enough.
Yes, I did. But I wasn't clean.
Yep.
I wasn't through it.
So that's why
the
self-work has to happen first.
Yeah.
And people will, I shouldn't say will, it is likely that people will misinterpret the journey.
Yeah.
As, well, it's a lot of investment in yourself, right? And for so many, and for a lot of like my parents' generation, that's inappropriate.
Right.
If you're not, you know, there was that whole concept of like, the more you suffer, the closer you are to God. Yeah. That sacrifice, like that's what it means to really serve others.
Right.
And we're just coming into a new understanding. I think not new, obviously, but now it's become more widely accepted that, oh no, you know, put on your own oxygen mask first before you put on everyone else's. And then unfortunately, if there is no coming back to then serving the other when you're in a place to do so,
Right.
you get stuck in that narcissism.
Totally. And I mean, here, if we think of it energetically, I literally, okay, so say my vibration is all wonky. It's slow, it's low, it's distorted because whatever. I'm in fear. I'm in self-judgment. And then I'm going to go out and help others.
Yeah.
I am bringing a distorted field. And if I'm helping others out of a sense of duty or lack within myself, so I'm going to help others because I'm a good person. And I want to feel that I'm a good person. I want to remind myself when I go to bed, look at all these good things I do. The minute I need to do that, I don't actually think I'm a good person. So the work that we do, I could not, meet clients, run retreats, interface and help people ever again with my words or my actions, but simply walking through the world with self-love in a coherent vibration. And that frequency does help the world.
Yes.
It just does. That's how it works. Or I could be someone who runs around and does a million acts of service, and my whole life looks like this. Oh my God, she just did this and she did that and she did that. But if I were not healed,
Right.
I can't share healing if I'm not healing.
Right.
And I don't mean healed, I mean healing.
Right.
Because we're always healing.
Yes. So I would love, this was kind of our exploration of the trending spiritual healing journey. Come back for part 2. We're going to talk about what does it look like to be in a place where you're feeling full enough, you're feeling healed enough to step out into the world and be of service. What does it actually mean to be of service, and how do we know we're ready,
Right.
and who do we serve?
Right.
So,
and I want to close with, this isn't a club. This isn't some special club. I think some people in my family have sometimes felt like intimidated by some of this. Like, it's not a club. So this is the world. And we're all here to be a part of this healing and this expression of love. And all are welcome, right?
all are well. There's nothing. There's no initiation that has to happen to be part of this.
No, there's no exclusivity. There's no nothing. It's just like,
Yeah.
so. All right.
See you next week.
Bye.